What you're looking at here is the kind of standard authentication screen for the portal. The application, the way we've developed it, it supports a number of different authentication methods. Of course, the base one, and this is what we're going to be looking at today, utilizes the normal SD authentication, which is the client ID and the password that's linked to that particular client record. The system has also been built so that you can access it using Windows integrated authentication for users that are internal to your network that have authenticated through an Active Directory somehow. You can also link the authentication process to an LDAP directory. So if you have an enterprise-wide LDAP server outside of Active Directory, or even if you're using an enterprise-wide Active Directory system, you can access and authenticate users using that. Beyond that, we've built this system so that it's basically pluggable or extensible, so that if you have other authentication requirements, let's say you're using some other external portal to allow your customers to access other information within your organization, we've actually built the system in a way that we can take the authentication information from that external system and then authenticate them directly into this application. So it kind of provides almost like a single sign-on solution, so they can go to that other interface or portal first and then be directed back into this application without having to type any credentials again. All right, so having said that, we'll go now into the application. Okay. All right, and when we come in, you'll see that we've actually branded this interface that we're looking at here today using some RightStar logos, and this is kind of our out-of-the-box implementation here. But basically, you have logos up here. The system also presents the whiteboards, because we know that's a key feature, one of the critical features that a lot of people use self-service for, is to be able to communicate those sort of enterprise-wide messages out to the organization. We also have a status bar here that shows how I'm currently logged in and allows me to log out. And then below that is where we start to get into the meat of the product. And you'll see that we have it laid out here so that we have tabs, and then below that it shows forms or any, whatever form or grid that we're actually currently working with. And the way that all this is laid out, everything that you see here is actually configurable. These tabs can actually be displayed as a menu system if you want. In this case, what we're looking at here today, and I'll click on Instance to kind of show you a submenu, you'll see we have tabs and then a submenu that appears below that, but you could actually have this displayed so that you have tabs and then a vertical submenu, or you can have this instead of tabs, so it would just be solid menus. Again, all this is controlled as part of the configuration in the application that can be changed by you or at the time the system is implemented. If we go back and look, here we're looking at a kind of a basic form for the client information. The way that this system is set up, because it's based on web services, there aren't any limitations as far as what data inside of SD you can access and make available to your end users through this interface. By default, in the normal self-service package and then also in client services, you're limited to just a few different types of transactions that are available to customers. With this system, we've actually, part of a normal implementation, we include default forms that we've already created in web services for incidents, work orders, change requests and related records, and purchase requests, and then also problem management records. So you can actually give your users access to basically anything inside of SD that you can write a web service for. The first thing we're going to take a look at is the incidents, and this is kind of typical of the transactional type of forms, and what we're going to do is take a look. There's three different types of interfaces to be able to access incidents, and these same three things could apply to either problem management or change management or work orders or purchase requests. The first thing that we see here when we come into this is a grid, and basically the grid is how we present data in lists. So a common implementation when we put this in will have one that shows all of the incidents or all of the records that a person would have access to, and this might be across their department or their company or whatever that organizational unit is. Then there may be a second option here that says My Incidents, and that would actually just be the ones where they're listed as the client or whatever that unique identifier is that ties into the record. Inside of our grids, we have all the same sort of sorting options that you would expect in any type of application like this. If state is available as part of the definition of the grid, you have the open and closed in both tabs here at the top. You can also filter by any of the fields within the grid by simply clicking the filter option here. and then entering a value and clicking submit, and it'll filter the list down. So if we filter this by office and do submit, see it filters our list down to the one specific record. So if we go back now and we'll take a look, so that's the filtering, and anything, and then the grids can also be sorted by simply clicking on the header of any one of the columns, and it'll sort by that value. So that's the basic grid functionality. The next thing we'll take a look at is creating a new record. And again, this is very much like the included package in that it's a very simple form. You know, typically when you have end users creating transactions, you want to limit the amount of data they have access to. So for the initial form creation here, we just have our basic user information and then a list of categories, and then we type in a description, and we submit our record, and it creates the new incident. And you'll see it takes us back to the same transactional form that we looked at when we clicked on the value from all incidents. So we have a result form that shows the data that's different from the form that's used to submit it. So there's a lot of flexibility from that standpoint, where you can build one particular type of data entry form and then have the results shown in a different form. One other thing that I want to take a look at while we're here inside of this incident is, because everything in the system is based on web services, you have a lot of flexibility as far as how you filter the data that appears. I've logged into the system here as test user, which is a member of company ABC, and you'll see that when I look at this filtered list here, or this list box field, you'll see I have it's a list of categories, and there's an option down here that says unique to company ABC. Well, I'm going to log in here on this page as test user 2. And then if I pull up an incident, you'll see that this user actually has different options available to them just because they're part of company DEF. So now when I go into that same list, I still have the common values, but then I have a unique value identified here. And the way we manage all of that is simply using web services. It grants different access to data because of the flexibility of web services. All right, so if we go back to our original entry here, the final thing that we're going to take a look at, and this is something that's unique to our tool that we've developed for customers based on their needs, but what this is, we call them additional information forms, and what they're used for is when you have the need to collect large amounts of data, and this is very useful in service request type environments. You want to collect large amounts of data, but you don't necessarily need to have all of that stored as specific fields within an incident or a transaction, you know, whatever that transaction record is. But you do want to have a record of those values. We've created what we call additional information forms, and these are kind of like quick tickets. And what happens is the user can come through and populate the form, and you'll see that we have a number of different field types too that aren't available in the normal application, where you get radio buttons to choose values from. Then we also have checkbox list where you can go through and pick multiple items. We have date fields. But basically what happens is all of the answers that I submit as part of this question are going to be saved as key value pairs that are linked as detail records to the parent transaction. And when we initially implement this, we actually make this functionality available to all the standard SDE transactions. So it's available with incidents, work orders, purchase requests, problem records, and then change requests. So when I say this, what it's going to do in this case, we have this format set up to create an incident. And what it's done is at the time it's created the incident, it's gone through and submitted all of these detail records. And inside of SDE, this is what that looks like. So if I come over here to my incident form and pull this up, you'll see that we have a new tab we've added down here called Additional Information. Let's see. And you'll see that that's been checked on our record that we just created here. And you'll see that all of those questions and answers that we submitted have now been saved as part of this record. So I can take that data and copy it out and paste it into other applications, or I could even use it to initiate a business rule or fire a report or something like that. So it's an easy way to collect large amounts of data that you may need to complete a particular task, but it's not necessarily something that you want to have at the base level of your transaction. All right, so let me go back. Sorry, I got lost there a little bit. One other thing too, with our application, with all of the modules, you have all the standard kind of functions that you would get in the base SDE applications. You can add attachments to records. You can also have different detail values appear as part of the record. And the way our system is set up, it shows the detail records as grids here at the bottom, just like this. So if there are incident details that are displayed or marked to be visible for end users, that would be displayed here. It shows the list of the attachments for a particular record, and of course here it's showing the additional information because this record has it. That's sort of the basic transactional functions. The next thing we'll take a look at is the quick ticket capabilities. The next two things we're going to look at, these are kind of standard SDE functions that we've replicated over into our portal so that we can be, so that you have the same kind of continuity as far as capabilities, from the base packages. So the quick tickets work just like they do in the existing system. You click the quick ticket you want to fill out, and then you'll be presented with a template that you can go in and submit a request, and it'll generate an incident for you. The next option is FAQs, and this is an option in SDE that some of you may or may not have, but basically the way this works is you can put some predefined solutions in a sort of a logic tree. So we come in and we pick a category, and then you'll see that we have questions related to email, and I can say, how do I set up email, and then it'll have the specific directions that I need to carry out to be able to do that. One other thing, and we don't have it installed on this server, but we also offer an interface to KME, and it works basically just like the existing self-service packages do, in that it presents the KME interface in an iframe inside the same page. But the last option here, and this actually I think links over to a customer system that we did for another demonstration, but you have the ability to put in links to external systems here within the application. And this is here to be able to link to external libraries or other knowledge sources that you want your end users to be able to look at, product documentation, whatever it might be. So, and this is just stored as a URL inside of the definition. And yeah, this is actually taking a look. We did a demo a couple months ago for a potential customer, and this goes over to their website. And when we built this link, we actually have it, I think, let me see. And one of the other things I want to show you as part of this is how easy it is to reformat this, or how you can make it look and feel exactly like another website that you may or may not have. This actually links over, this particular link goes over to that customer's website. Let me pull it back up again. And then what I can show you is we still have a demo version of their website here on our application server, and you'll see that the two look virtually identical, and it just took about an hour and a half of modifying cascading style sheets to build that presentation, to get it to look the same as what their existing website does, to give their users a consistent interface. So you'll see we have kind of the same formatting here. Let me go back to it again. So here's their standard website, and here's what we were able to build for our demo in just a couple of hours, to get it to look like their existing application. And you can get pretty creative with this. We have another one here that we implemented for another customer, and they've really kind of gone wild with the flash and the graphics and the information. But all of this is stuff that was done by their system admins. They could build it all out themselves to make it look however they want. So really, what we're providing here is a toolkit, and it also includes an administrative tool like a wizard that you can go through to modify the forms and the navigation and the grids. But by using our basic toolkit, they were able to reuse some of their internal expertise to really, jazz up the site, make it look nice, and give a lot of different presentations there. So that's it for the basic tour of the application.